Welcome to the Neuro-Pitch Podcast, where industry leaders share their secrets to mastering business, sales, and influence. And today we have a very, very special guest on this podcast. I'm very excited that he's here. I've met him in Los Angeles just last week, and now he's already here. So speed of implementation is something he lives by. He was a former engineer, worked at the top companies in the world, and then now he is an investor and teaches other people how to invest the Warren Buffett way. So I'm very excited that he's here. Dennis, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Good evening, Lukas. It was my pleasure to meet you. Especially, I was very, very impressed when hearing you speaking on the stage at the conference last week. So it's a real honor to speak with you and to be, part of your podcast. And thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Let's dive right in because I'm very curious because I think a lot of people, when they hear like, oh, okay, engineer, they think they have like a typical corporate picture in their head. They're like, okay, he's doing the work 9 to 5, and then at some point he will retire. But you change your path to something completely different. Maybe not completely different. We'll talk about this. But what happened? What was the key factor that changed your way from becoming a professional engineer to a full-time investor?
Okay, well, that's a very good question. Also, you brought up a very good point. It seems to be very completely different, but I would say throughout this conversation, you probably noticed that actually there are a lot of things in life or in our job, in our career, they're related, connected, right? If not directly, would be indirectly. So I would say, it started with, I was more of a, left brainer, engineer. And I think that has a lot to do with, I grew up with very little, right, in the family. So I think the only pathway that I knew at the time to, more of building a better life was through, okay, well, go to school, just like many of us grew up learning, right? Do well in school. And in my case, I love science. So ended up, hey, it's obvious for me is to earn an engineering degree, get a professional job, and I should be able to live very comfortably. And that's the mindset. And so I work pretty much most of my career as a professional engineer here in Canada, in the corporate world, working for, General Electric and then also the French company Alstom as well. I would say I really enjoy my career. It's not the case that, like many people say, hey, I don't like my job, I got to switch and find something else. And in my case, I really enjoy my career. But I think throughout my career, I noticed that, hey, there are a lot more than technology in life, right? So I spent the first of my pretty much 10 years in my career focusing in more of a technical aspect of work. But later on, I developed more and more interest in terms of working with people and working in the business aspect on my job. So traveling around the world, get to know more people. I think I developed a more intense interest in business in general. So that led me to, getting involved in more of a business side. So naturally, it's financially business related. But I think more important is really how I feel about my future is that I always believe in you have to keep working and learning in life in order to advance. And I never felt that, okay, the moment I get a job, get paid, with a stable income salary, I'll be fine. Or at the retirement, relying on whatever, retirement saving, government retirement plan and things like that. So I think that led me to naturally wanting to advance more in terms of financially and try to learn about, hey, investing, right? What about investing? So I think over time, I'm so blessed or glad that I found the right way to learn about it and invest. So one thing led to another, but it wasn't really straightforward in the process. Went through a lots of challenges and losing money in investing, and but fortunately found the right way, being patient and practice, being consistent. then I was able to doing it full time now.
Amazing. You just mentioned a lot of the things I wanna talk about.
Yeah.
One thing is, so we dive right into the investment topic, being patient.
Ah.
Because a lot of people, I think, they want to have a quick cash grab, and
Hmm.
probably the number one reason, if we're talking now in terms of stock market, why they fail, because stock market, obviously you have to just leave it there, don't touch it, don't get anywhere near it. Um, so what do you think are the three most common mistakes people make when they are already invested?
Yeah, I think patient definitely is one of the key things. And I think including myself, lots of people, when we started investing, especially in the stock markets, our mindset is really to, hey, this is the way to make money. So when it comes to making money, everybody wants to make money quickly. Everyone
Mm,
wants to get rich quickly. There's nothing wrong with that. I think we all have that desire. But I think the key is that once we understand, better understand how investing work, what really truly is investing, then we will realize that investing is not an overnight thing. So patience becomes very, very important or key elements in investing. In fact, I always tell people that in investing actually is 20, 30% skill, knowledge and skill, and 70, 80% are psychology, mindset, which patient is part of the big things. Very, very fundamentally is that what investing is about is that we are participating in business, right?
mm,
Essentially, investing is having a ownership, whether it's a partial ownership or, in the case of private equity investing or complete ownership of a business. And
mm,
we believe in that business that has a very good prospect and will grow over time. And as the business grows, taking in more and more revenue, increasing in earning, cash flow, um, then eventually returning capital back to shareholder. And that's how we get the return of investing. And that's what investing fundamentally all about. Now, all that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't even happen over a month or a year, right? And any given business, if we look around, doesn't matter whether it's the mega company like Microsoft, right, or even Tesla, right? It doesn't grow to where it is overnight, right? If we look
mm.
at Amazon, it's the same thing. So that's why true investing, it should take a lot of patience. So if we look at investing as a truly investing in business, owning part of the business, then we should be patient enough to, hey, let the business, do their work and grow it. And over time, it will reward shareholder. And that's where the patient come from. Otherwise, we are just trading stocks. And stock is nothing more than just a piece of paper proving that we have a partial ownership of a business, right? So that's why when we don't have patience, we're not owning a business. We're simply trading that piece of paper. Well, in the old days, there's a piece of like share certificates. And nowadays, we don't even have that, right? Everything is digital. So we're just trading those number around. So we ended up playing the game of, hey, who's right, who's wrong? And it's not even right or wrong. Who's guessing it right, guessing it wrong? So
Mm.
that's why we ended up losing most of the time.
Yeah. Okay, so because currently in the time we are right now, the economy is wild, to say the least. It's very very interesting market right now.
Yeah.
Um, and I've already met a lot of people who are investors or
Hmm.
invest their money at least,
Yeah.
and currently with the current market, they started slowly to freak out because
Hmm.
everything turned upside down.
Hmm.
Um, Things happen they never witnessed for before. Sometimes, they're very
Hmm.
young. I mean, older investors, they know, okay, we know the game by now. We know this is happening before, and
Yeah.
we know how to adjust the strategies we have.
Yeah.
What advice can you give for people who are right now very terrified in terms of, okay, I want to be patient, but
Yeah.
also, what advice could you give them?
Well, okay. I would say I wouldn't say I would, good enough to give advice, but I'm more than happy to share my own experience, my own observation, my own views. Uh, to me, I would say that given any time, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about the stock market or we're talking about geopolitics or our society, if we look back in history, any time that we are looking at the present moment, the feeling is always, hey, nothing like this happened before, and this is new. This is like the world is changing upside down. Um, doesn't matter if we look all the way back to the First World War, Second World War, any time in history, everybody living at that moment always feel the same way, right? It's only when we look back and when history was formed, and then we go, okay, this and that happened, and that become something acceptable, right? As hey, that's how things happen. So we always live in the moments that's exactly why everything is changing, everything is new, and that's why we feel how we feel insecure, uncertain, and that's absolutely right. So when it comes to investing, the way I look at it is that this is not something that would scare me off. In fact, I accepted that's the fact. That's how the world is changing, right? The whole world, our society, the culture, the economy, right? And I think in the past few years, everybody experienced, nobody expect COVID and how COVID changed everything, right?
Mm.
Even today, we recover from COVID, but everything had been changed and moving in a very different direction. So to me, all these changes is not something that we should be scared of. I think for those who embrace changes would actually see it as a good thing, because without change, there will be no opportunities, to be honest. If everything is flat line, then there's absolutely no opportunity at all. So when we are able to look at change as, wait a minute, yeah, if we don't find a way to work through these changes, and we certainly will be eliminated or left behind, right? Whether technology or like financially, right? But if we embrace it and say, hey, we got to look for opportunity, then I think it's a good thing. So that's exactly what investment's about. Investing is really all comes down to looking for the right opportunity and be able to weigh between the return and the risk, right? The benefit and risk, and be able to make those kind of decisions. And in fact, I always like to point out one thing is that it's so funny. My cultural heritage is Chinese. Okay, so in Chinese character, right, the Chinese language, the Chinese character, the word um, um, crisis, okay, in Chinese
Mm.
is actually, you know, two character put together. On one side, like the crisis, on one side of the character means danger in Chinese. Okay, danger. On the other side of the character, from one character, right? The other half of the character means opportunity,
Mm.
right? In Chinese, crisis is 危机. 危 means danger. 机 means opportunity. I always want to point out that it's so funny, even in ancient time, in the history, I'm no expert, but how this language developed and it's amazing. It's so true that in every crisis, there are opportunity. If there's no crisis, no changes, no one will have opportunity, and every day would be the same. So I would encourage, it's not an advice. I would say, yeah, we live in an ever-changing world, and it's changing much, much faster, especially everything is being accelerated by technology and by AI, right? Artificial intelligence. So that's exactly what makes everybody feel unsettled, uncertain, insecure. So that's exactly why, or the reason I would encourage everyone that we have to learn how to invest, which means to find a way to grow and strengthen our financial well-being, our financial strength. Only by doing so, we have the ability to take control of our life, and that's how we can feel more certain, more secure. And on top of that, we can even have better optionality, right? How
Mm.
we, where we live, the way we want to live. And I see these changes is a good thing.
Thank you so much. I think for a lot of people, this is what they needed to hear. And I always love language because it always is a little window in the mind of people, what kind
Yeah,
of language we use. And
right.
especially like in a cultural setting, if we have danger and opportunity together in the word crisis, I think this speaks a lot to the not only the Chinese mindset, but also in terms of what we can learn again from other cultures. Because in Germany, I mean, the term German Angst is very, very well known in the world because Germans are terrified of everything
Mm-hmm.
and want security over everything. And
Yeah.
it shows also in I think we have the least amount of money invested in the entirety of Europe, even
Mm-hmm.
though we are one of the richest countries,
Mm-hmm.
which just shows again people are afraid of taking chances, not risks, because
Mm-hmm.
everything we do, I believe at least, comes at a certain price or a risk or at least a decision where we need to decide, okay, which way do we want to go? And
Mm-hmm.
most people rather wait than choose.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very insightful to see what in terms of what mindset, which you uh, talked about earlier, is important. And 70% is mindset and psychology,
Yes.
and 30% are strategies because
Right.
there can be people who have like a lucky punch. I have a friend, as an example, he invested a lot of like in the stock market, especially on Pfizer and Johnson Johnson in the year
Mm-hmm.
2019.
Yeah.
At the end of 2019 and at starting 2020, his stock went through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
An accident, a happy accident for him. I'm very happy that he did this. Um, but a lot of people, I think, are more prisoners of their own mind when it comes to investing. So, um, because I truly believe that we learn best by mistakes and how to avoid them, then we
Yeah.
don't have to do them ourselves. What are the mistakes people make before they invest, when they're staying in? We already touched this a bit, and especially when they're going out, because I think there are a lot of people who, okay, now it's time, I want to sell, I want to take a bit of the profits I made, and
Mm-hmm.
then stuff happens. Maybe the SEC comes knocking at your door. So, what are mistakes people make in general when it comes to investing, or at least have false belief about investing?
So the last question, can you repeat again?
What
What's the
what's what
mistake?
what unhealthy belief systems do they
Okay.
have when it comes to investing?
So I would say most of the people, I mean, it's very natural. I would say it's really the buying and selling, right? And you mentioned about, people want to buy, invest, taking profits, and sometimes, not knowing when to take profit and when to sell. Your friends, you mentioned that they're lucky. Um, I would say that all lucks are created by ourselves. I truly believe that. Um, we are the one that create those luck. Now, when the right opportunity, the right timing arrive, and we will be able to uh, harvest those luck, right? And material turn it into, materialize the luck. But otherwise, I think if we keep on doing the most important is the fundamental, just like your friends. And I believe that, if they invested in those two company, right, um, then nobody expected like the COVID, and that really becoming this event is a crisis, but it became a huge opportunity for um, life science, biotechnology, pharmaceutical industry, right? And that's why those companies flourish. So if your friends are invested with the fundamental mindset of, hey, those are great business, and they are the business that addressing need in our society, right? Addressing health and providing cure to various disease, continuously investing their capital into developing technology, new technology in treating different diseases. And then it's so happened that when there's an event, then hey, they are the one in a position to offer the value, right? Whether it's vaccination or other things. So that's why, they're being rewarded. And that's the fundamental. So that's a way to address your question of the so-called unhealthy mindset is investing about buying and selling and try to make money between the buying and the selling price, right? That's literally is trading, right? So I think I always try to tell people that we have heard a lot of people, oh, I make so much money today trading this stock, tomorrow trading that option, or in a few weeks, and whether it's like day trading or swing trading, making so much money in a matter of weeks or so. And I would say that people have to recognize knowing the fundamental in the investing world is really putting capital in any given business and believing that it will grow over time. And by providing that capital, participating in a business, and the business would take the capital and use it in their operation to grow the business and to provide goods and services to create value and being rewarded by consumer or customer, right? Paying for the service and good. Then that's how we return our capital, right? Now, in trading, I would say, in my opinion, I am in no judgment of other people, whether this is considered healthy or unhealthy. But what I can point out is that when you simply trade, right, assuming that you are very lucky, you make big money in a matter of days or week, and the underlying security that you purchase or sell haven't even had time or enough time to actually doing their business to create the product and providing the services and be rewarded in that process. So if you are making big money because of the price jumping, you are making money from somebody else, from another trader. Okay. So if you think about where's that money come from, right? The underlying business has not created value or delivered the value or being paid by the customer. And usually, those take months and years, right? And the money actually come from other trader who bought your stock or your securities. So in that process, when somebody wins, somebody loses, right? So I would say, we have to understand that mechanism in the marketplace is that when we think we are investing, but in fact, we're simply trading, then that means, hey, unless we're smarter than other traders, unless we think our objective is to take money from other traders' pockets, that's how we gain our to be wealthy, then by all means, go ahead. But I always cautious people that, especially for us as individual investor, right, everyday person, try to invest, try to learn how to invest. We have to understand who we are trading against, because when there's buy, there's a sell, or vice versa, right? When we trade with somebody making money from a trade, who are we trading against, right? We're trading against those professional on Wall Street, right? Or any given market, the big institution. And especially in today's environment, we're not even trading against the professional trader or investor. We are trading against AI, right? So are we smarter than those AI algorithm? Yeah, right now, a lot of the institutional investor or trader, they're actually using advanced AI software, recognizing technical pattern and all that, automatically execute orders, right? Trading orders and all that. Even trading 24 hours, when we're sleeping. So at least for me, I don't think I have the ability to win, in that game. So that's why I would say I try not to. I mean, to me, is unhealthy, but maybe to other people, they have a better ability, a better mean. So it's a different story. So that's why I simply stick with something very, very simple, very fundamental, which is back to the origin, fundamental objective of investing, which is participating in any business with our own capital and be rewarded, right, when the business do well and multiply in value.
What you just described, is this the Warren Buffett way of investing? Because I know we talked about this on not only the conference, but I know this is like your philosophy, a lot behind it, and what you learn, not just learn, but also what you teach to others. Is this the Warren Buffett way of investing? Going back to the fundamentals and then just see the value. Don't go overboard in terms of I have to make a quick short sell rather than staying for the long term and then grow with the company.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. Yeah, that's the Warren Buffett way of investing. Very simple. Stick to the fundamental. What investing is truly about. I think it's nothing more than finding good business, the business that we are interested in, right? That's very important. That's how I share with other people. The most important before we even talk about any good business or profitable business, the number one very critical elements in investing is it got to be something, a business, an industry, a product, a technology, whatever it is that we are interested in, that we are passionate about. The reason being is that without that element, we will not be interested or spending time or spending effort in following up, or not even have the interest of owning any business, right? For example, to be honest, one of the very profitable, very steady, very profitable industry is funeral home, right? In the world that we live in, doesn't matter what happened, every day there's so many numbers of people pass away, right? Naturally or accidentally. So funeral home industry always have very steady business, right? And it never fails. There's no seasonality. Good economy, bad economy, people pass away, die. And guess what? After people pass away, family typically have no hesitation in terms of spending money to say goodbye, right? Because that's the last chance for them to say goodbye, to honor the deceased. So no matter what, it is, the funeral home are so profitable in terms of providing their service, and everything got to be, for those, everybody would willing to pay whatever within their mean, for the best services, for the best whatever, in remembering their loved one, right? So the funeral home business is one of the best business. However, if we don't have an interest in that particular industry, you will not have any desire to invest or own a funeral home or be involved in a funeral business, right? So that point out something is so important that we got to, have an interest in whatever we want to invest in. And then the second point is we have to have the ability to understand the business that we invest in. And they're very simple business and they're very complex business in the world. And the financial industry make it even more complicated. So if it's something that beyond we can understand, then don't. We got to be able to understand, not to the level that we are the one that running the business. No, we're not an operator. We are an owner. But as an owner, we got to be able to understand, what the business is about and how the business deliver their goods and services, and and how, the company make money and grow and for that, right? So that's important. So the Warren Buffett way is nothing more than finding good business that we can understand, we have an interest in, and we believe in it will grow. And the next step, once we find those, great company with wonderful businesses, then we go, hey, how much are they worth? That's very important, right? How much are they worth? And once we know how much they're worth, how much are we willing to pay for it, right? If we're willing to pay the price way above what it's worth, basically that means we're willing to take the risk. We're willing to take so much risk that believe in the future the company will bring massive profit and then reward shareholder as the value of the company grow, right? But the moment we do that, that means there are higher risk that, hey, we can be wrong, right? If we are wrong about the business, the price, drop, then we're at risk of losing our capital. So the Warren Buffett way basically is nothing more than finding good business, knowing how much it's worth, and then we buy it either at the fair value or at a discount. And that's the trick of the strategy of value investing, knowing the value and buy it below value and to limit our risk.
I love the idea of going not only to the fundamentals, but having seeing the value and not just, you know, speculating on something which in the past, as we know, wasn't a good idea for a lot of people. Still did it. So, I mean, you're obviously a very intelligent man, very well spoken. I think a lot of people who want to invest, I think they're a bit of afraid to go there because they are afraid of like, okay, there are many things I can do wrong.
Mhm.
Um, why should I even start with investing? And especially when it comes to the stock market, everything seems so complicated. I think a lot of people want to invest, they want to start, but they're holding themselves back. What
Mhm.
advice or your experience could you share for those people?
Certainly, certainly. Well, first of all, I want to point out that well, thank you, Lucas. The way you describe me, but what I can say is that honestly, I don't feel or I don't look at myself a very intelligent man. In fact, I look at it as the opposite. I'm not that smart. Uh, and it's because of that, it really forced me to learn to take a very risk-averse approach when it comes to investing and keeping it very simple. And I think that's the key uh, contributor to, financial success, in fact. Because the moment we think we can do a lot, we're smarter than those professionals, then we are willing to take more risk and aiming for better return. And that's when things will go wrong, right? In fact, well, like you mentioned that I follow the path of Warren Buffett and Warren Buffett's partner, Charlie Munger, who passed away at the age of 99 last year. And he always advocated that keep it simple. It's so simple that something that we can understand. In fact, I would say for me to let everybody knows that investing, in fact, is not scary at all. It's actually very, very simple. Uh, in fact, last weekend I had an online workshop, and a month ago, I had an in-person workshop here in Calgary, Canada. And this coming weekend, Saturday, I'm going to have another online workshop via Zoom. And in the workshop, I always share this real life story about a class of grade 7 students, right? Grade 7 students, they're roughly about 12 years old, 13 years old, and about this class of grade 7 student in a school outside Boston, their teacher, also an investor, believe that you don't need to be very, very smart or intelligent to be a good investor. In fact, anyone can be a good investor. So in fact, this teacher, in the Boston area, we all know that in Boston, right? Harvard University, MIT, all the prestigious Ivy League school, and most of the legendary investor or fund manager come from those business school, right? She wanted to prove that you don't need to be at that level to be a good investor. So I share this story in my workshop. Uh, to put it simple, she taught her class how to invest, nothing more than what I just described in the past 30 minutes. And in 2 years, her class of grade 7, 12-year-old kids outperformed S&P 500. Back at the time, the 2 years following, she started teaching her class, S&P 500 gained 26% in 2 years. Her class portfolio is plus 70%.
Wow.
And okay, get this, not only is plus 70%, they actually outperform 90% of all equity mutual fund managed by Wall Street professional. And I share this story, and the story, if you Google it, is on New York Times in an old archive article, a New York Times on NASDAQ, and is in the book of Beating the Street by legendary mutual fund manager Peter Lynch. Because like Peter Lynch, if anyone haven't heard of him, he's one of the most successful mutual fund manager, grew his mutual fund, which is by Fidelity Investment, right? From 20 million to 14 billion and growing at 29% annually, year over year, under his management. So he heard about this success story. So he invited this class of kids and their teacher to the headquarters of Fidelity's headquarters, right? The executive dining room for lunch, try to find out how they invest, what makes them so successful being kids. And then it turned out he learns that exactly how he himself invests is nothing more than keeping it so simple to the point that it's something that even kids can understand. It's something that kids are interested in, and they know the business fundamental. And Peter Lynch always say that if you cannot explain something that you want to invest in within 1 minute to a 10-year-old and be able to explain it in 1 minute, and the 10-year-olds actually can understand, then you should not be investing in that business. So it all comes down to keeping it very simple. You don't need to be smart, but all we need is to understand what investing is about and what the process of finding good business, evaluating how much it is, and not willing to being attracted to pay a lot more than what it's worth because of everybody says so in the marketplace, right? Basically chasing the market, chasing, the price, running with the herd, right? And that's why the mindset, the patient is so important. So that's why, knowing what investing is about is so important, because the mechanic of buying and selling is the same. But once we have the right mindset, it's a totally different game. We're buying business. We're investing for the future, right? So I would say for anyone, investing is not about making huge money, getting rich in a short time. Investing is about, hey, we all should be focusing on what we do, what we're good at, whether it's at our job, at our business, and do our best, provide the best value, learn everything we can, keep on moving up, moving on in our career, creating more capital, right? In addition to, living on whatever money we make, allocate a portion of it and to invest for our own future. And in the process of investing, it's not about making big money in the short term to be, super rich. But it's really, hey, I'm going to invest it for the future. I want more certainty in life. I want to build not only financial security, but also financial freedom, right? Or the wants, right? The first is the financial security to address the need in our life. And then on top of that, it's the wants, right? Our bucket list and all those. And that's what called financial freedom. And we're investing for that in the future. And then if we have the right mindset, we are participating in the global economy by providing our hard-earned money as capital. So it got to be a good business that we're willing to put our money into it and believing the business will have a really, really good growth prospect, which will return and reward shareholder in the next 10, 20 years. So I would say anyone can do that. Keep it very simple.
Thank you so much. before I always record a podcast, I'm always thinking of, okay, maybe how I will call the episode.
Yeah.
In a bit polarizing way, to get draw people's attention.
Hmm.
My idea was something along the lines of how to make millions the easy way, the Warren Buffett way, with Dennis. And I think if you clicked on this podcast because of this title and you listen till here, you now understand, first off, this is how marketing works. But most importantly, it's not about quick, it's not about being complicated, it's going back to the fundamentals, keeping it simple. You need to understand the business, you need to understand how they operate, you need to be able to pitch it to a 10-year-old so they understand it. Then when you truly, this is a sign that you truly understand it. And then be patient, because if you can keep it simple and are patient, I think this is the fundamentals of successful investing. Dennis,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for your time. When people want to learn more about you, the work you do, how can they reach out?
Well, okay. Well, certainly. In fact, I have a free online workshop, 2 hours workshop, this Saturday. This will be the last one in 2024. So if people are interested in joining, or going forward, I don't know when this podcast will be published, but in the new year, 2025, I'll continue to do this. And my mission is really to share this knowledge, my own personal experience and knowledge and skill, and hoping that I can, help others who have a desire to build their own financial success through investing. They can reach out to me, certainly. My email is Dennis, right? Dennis .Wongman, right? WONGMAN @gmail.com. Or just look me up on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. Again, Dennis the Wong Man, and feel free to connect with me. And I always share everything, what happened in the world, anything investment related, and share with my audience on a regular basis. Um, More than happy to help.
Thank you so much. We will link all this in the show notes below. So if you're watching this on YouTube, this is just a video description. If you listen to this on like Spotify or Apple Podcast, you can just find it in the show notes as well. We also will link, probably if there's already a date for 2025 for the next workshop, also in the show notes, so you can find it. I highly recommend following Dennis. You just learned a lot of his expertise. He's no BS, straight to the core, very genuine, very simple, very elegant in the way he does it, with a lot of patience. If you want to learn more about investing this way, please follow Dennis. Thank you so much for listening. This was the Neuro-Pitch Podcast. And if you liked this episode, leave us a 5-star review, and we see you in the next episode.